Man, that was a great real estate conversation, dropping a lot of gems and a lot of knowledge, man. You probably gonna have to watch this more than once to really pick up on everything, man. So
Yes,
definitely,
sir.
but also our contact information is below, so you can definitely contact me. Everything real estate, even if you're not in the Las Vegas market, I can definitely connect you with someone in San Diego, of course, and also in other places in California and throughout the country because I am well connected in this industry. But we definitely want to spend the remaining time here today, especially we got veteran Kenneth Davis here and talk a little bit more about the veteran issues going into 2023 and some different things that are some phenomenal changes, man. So, Mr. Davis, man, what's going on in that space for him?
Well, man, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a Veterans Day conversation, right? We want to make sure that the veterans get the information. So typically, we don't do this too often by breaking down some real insightful knowledge that's going to be able to assist because different laws change on a regular basis that most aren't privy to. So we want to go ahead and provide you some of the great information that's going to be able to assist. One great thing that happened that transpired is one, a cost of living adjustment, right? So I do want to go ahead and tell veterans that veterans, you guys are granted a cost of living adjustment every single year. Typically, it coincides with the Social Security disability as well. So anytime that the Social Security goes up, you can kind of guarantee that the veterans disability goes up as well. And when we're talking about this cost of living adjustment, currently, if you can look on the screen here, it's projected to say 8.9%, but it actually resonated to about 8.7%. Okay. That transpired October 13th. Okay. October 13th, that's when it was actually finalized. And I'm going to tell you that this goes up every single year, but this one in particular, this is the highest grossing increase over 40 years. Okay. Over 40 years. So you're actually going to see that it takes effect in December 2022. But if you know anything about the Department of Veterans Affairs benefits, they work on something called omnibus, right? So it's actually going to be paid out paid out January 1st, 2023. So you will be seeing that increase there on the new year, right? So you can kind of put yourself in position of giving yourself a little bit of raise that year. So that's amazing there. I'm sorry, I actually said a little, but that's a pretty tremendous raise there. So if you want to kind of technically break it down, right, it's 8.7%. So for every $1,000, you can be banking on receiving $87, right? So for every $1,000, you can kind of break it down to receive $87. So that's an amazing increase. I think, again, you veterans out there, if you are receiving your disability benefits, you will be, I mean, really ecstatic that's going to be able to happen to you. Definitely for some of the veterans who are in position where you can't be able to work and be in the workforce due to some of the service connected disabilities, because those disabilities are really deliberating for some, and it almost confined to their homes and different things of that nature. So having a little extra income based on the cost of living adjustment is a tremendous ordeal. And I will tell you right now, I would tell you right now, with that disability increase, it's kind of combating inflation, right? Obviously the increases are going to be based on the cost of living throughout year to year of inflation. We understand that inflation has been running rampant this year, and the government is trying to combat it as much as possible. But overall, it has been really, kicking a lot of people's butts. Active duty members have actually received a BAH increase, a basic allowance for housing. So that's incredible as well. So at any point in time where you guys are ready for active duty, that means buy a house. Okay. That does not mean go rent a house. That means buy a house. Okay. That's what BAH stands for. All right. So do not confuse that. All right. So with that increase there, you can go ahead and utilize those funds there to go ahead and make sure you transition that to purchase yourself a home. But for you veterans who are receiving VA disability benefits, that increase will be taking effect January 1st, 2023. Okay, they typically go off these something called the CPI index. This is again obviously the consumer pricing index, where obviously wage earners they go ahead and check again based on inflation. That's what they're looking at. So this year it was relatively high. So with that being said, you were able to go ahead and get that increase of 8.7%, which essentially is, I'm going to go ahead and essentially going to go over to tell you about some of the pricing, right? Some of the actual the benefits and what they actually determine. All right.
For sure. For sure. But yeah, but before you get right into that, I
Mhm.
want to acknowledge, man, how phenomenal it is that they're actually keeping up with inflation. So think about that from a practical sense of your regular job, right? Like if you're working, a regular job, your employer is not giving you a cost of living increase that high every year, right? So that is
Or
amazing what
ever.
the government or ever, right? Yeah, like literally, I know when I was employed in some different workplaces, they would have these assessments that you would do at the end of the year, right? And it's like, okay, grade yourself on, you got to grade yourself on your performance matrix, and you might qualify for like 1 or 2% increase, right? So it's like,
If that.
yeah, if that. So it's like you got to fight and write a whole essay just to get 1%, and you guys are getting over 8%, man, to keep up with the cost of living because you know for a hamburger or gas, anything going to the grocery store, everything costs more. About
Yeah.
8% more on average. And that's why you got that 8%, man. So it's very phenomenal what our government is able to do, especially thinking about our veterans and thinking about people on disability benefits as a whole to make sure that they can actually afford their basic needs. So that's great. That's
Yeah. Because
phenomenal.
I will say, though basic needs are really increasing here, we must take an effect and then also put in our mindset that this is a lifelong benefit and it's tax free. So, with that tax free benefit being applied to your everyday life, you want to make sure that you're utilizing it correctly. So, by being able to use that extra income to even fight some of the interest rate increases, right? But however, we are going to be able to combat that. That's what we want to do. So, if that cost of living adjustment can be applied to the home ownership that you and your family may need, and kind of tandemly using your VA home loan with this, it'll be amazing because the funding fee is going to be waived if you're receiving disability, because you only need to be 10%, again 10% disability disabled to be able to receive a waiver of that VA home loan funding fee.
No, that's
So
great. That's great.
that's incredible.
And I had a question for you. So now it increased over 8% for 2023. Now, based on inflation and that sort of thing. So if
Mhm.
inflation ever goes negative, or let's say you move to a different area or different things like that, would they ever reduce your allotment back to what it was before or lower?
So I'm gonna ask that I'm gonna answer that question with the question. You think the how do you think bipartisanship or the right wing or the left wing would react to that? So it's not something that typically happens, right? It's not something that typically happens because a lot of Congress would be up in uproar if they're not taking care of the veteran community. Because at the end of the day, government is kind of forewarned us that's something that they're willing to do, to bend over backwards for our veterans, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who protect this country on a day-to-day basis. When you go out to go to your grocery store and you feel safe, it's because of them. So this is not something that is pretty much reduced. It's more or less it's something that it will be remain the same or increase.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. So, like the young people say, is it's up and it's stuck, right? So it ain't going down. So,
Oh
it,
man.
and absolutely. So let's get into